Hey guys, Alton here, and I want to welcome you to today's video where we're going to be talking about eLearnSecurity's eJPT certification, which stands for eLearnSecurity's Junior Penetration Tester certification and its associated Penetration Testing Student course. So I just passed this certification yesterday evening, took me around 5.5 hours, and as of today my certification is effective, which you see here on the screen. Now, I wanted to give you guys my review of the course and certification without going into too much details so I don't break my non-disclosure agreement, and also give you some tips on how I successfully prepared for this certification. So let's go ahead, let's get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up eLearnSecurity's website for those of you that aren't members. I know a lot of people have done these reviews and so forth, but I wanted to talk about the exam itself and the course in terms of your different options. So if we go down, I am on the PTS V4, so the Penetration Testing Student page. If you go down to the plans and pricing, I think this is what's important. Really the two options that you should consider is either the Elite or the Full Edition. And the reason is with the bare bones edition, which is pretty much essentially just the PowerPoint slides, you don't get access to the lecture videos, you don't get access to the labs, you don't get access to the voucher and so forth. None of that's there. So your options really are the full versus the elite. And to be honest, depending upon your level of experience, some of you are going to be perfectly fine with the full. Other ones are going to want the elite version. So myself, I signed up for the elite. I purchased this earlier this year. I really didn't know what to expect, this being my first pen testing certification and course. But to be honest, I didn't need the elite. I probably should have just purchased the full edition. So for people that have been working in IT, and myself, I've been working in IT for roughly 2 decades. The last decade working in cybersecurity, but more so doing policy, risk management, governance, not really doing technical aspects of cybersecurity. But the first decade of my career, I did nothing but technical work: system administration, network support, web development, programming, database administration, you name it, I did it. So if you have a background in IT, if you have a decent background in IT, I would say go with the full version. If you don't, and you're a bit worried that you may need to take multiple different tries, you may need a fair amount of time to go through all the content, go for the elite version, and they constantly have sales. I just signed up for the PTP, the Penetration Testing Professional Certification, and that was on sale for 35% off. So look for those sales and sign up for them. The difference between these is that with the Elite Edition, you get the vouchers that don't expire, and you have 3 free retakes. With the full edition, it does expire after a certain amount of time. I don't know what that is. It looks like it says right here 180 days, so half of the year, definitely a lot of time, and you get 1 free retake. One of the difference here is with the lab hours, you get 30 hours versus 60. I only used about 10 hours. So somebody that needs to go through the labs multiple different times, you might need maybe, I couldn't even see going through 30 hours, to be honest. They do give you, with the Elite Edition, you do have access to 3 black box pen tests, which you don't have access to with the full edition. And actually, I didn't even go through those yet. Those are really for people that are prepping to move beyond the eJPT and going to the PTP. So I plan on doing those in the future, but I really just stuck with the different labs right here. There's 16 different labs for the HERA lab. So I just wanted to talk about this just to give you an idea of whether you would want the full versus the Elite Edition. Now let's go back to the sales page, and in terms of the material itself, you get 5.5 hours of video training. It's not a ton, but it's more than enough. But you get over 1,800 slides, which is a lot of material, and then you get those 16 labs. And those labs are where you log in to via VPN to their testing environment. You spin up the labs, you get access to a testing lab environment for these different labs, and it's great. Now, in terms of what they cover in this course, they have what they call their preliminary skills: networking, web apps, pen testing, the whole life cycle and process, They have a section on programming, and this really actually isn't covered in the certification, so I didn't even go through this. I plan on looping back around with this for the PTP and moving forward, but you really don't need to use this for this certification. A majority of it is going to be what you see right here, modules 1 through 6 in pen testing. So info gathering, footprinting and scanning, vulnerability assessments, web attacks, system attacks, and network attacks. So with that said, they cover a lot in this, and certain sections are going to be a lot heavier than others. One thing that if you are new to IT, and a lot of people, I see this in the forums and people talking about this on Reddit, is they struggle with networking. I teach networking on Udemy. I have a master's in IT network management, and if you don't know the basics of networking, you're going to struggle with pivoting and moving around and setting up routing tables, understanding routing tables. But you just need to understand the basics, understand switching, understand ARP tables, understand routing, understand default gateways, understanding what subnets are, what a /24 network is, how to get from one subnet to another through a router, and so forth. Just really basic stuff. But if you don't know this stuff, then you're going to struggle. And also, a lot of the attacks, the attacked vectors through the network, through routing, not through routing, but through different ports and protocols that are open. And so you need to understand what those are, how they work, and so forth. Anyways, so let's jump back, let's get out of this page, and let's take a look at the student view for people that are members of eLearnSecurity. So once you sign up, you get access to the membership site, and you're going to notice my courses. I signed up for the Penetration Testing Professional certification, and I have the Penetration Testing Student, which is for the eJPT, which is what we're talking about right now. So there is that. There is a section, and we'll jump into here in a second, but there are also the virtual labs, which I'll open up in a new tab. I'll go over in a second. When you're ready to take your exam, you can go here. You can view your certifications here, and then they have a great student forum as well. So let's go into here where it says study. And in terms of this, give you an idea of how it's broken down. So they have the different modules, and with those, you can, depending upon the version that you have, you may or may not be able to download the PDFs, but they have the PowerPoint presentations. I'll call them PowerPoint presentations. That's essentially what they are. You can view them via the web. You can download them via PDF if you have ability to do that, depending upon which version that you purchase. Under resources, they're going to have videos. Again, depending upon which level that you purchase, you can download these. I was able to download it with the Elite Edition. And then if there are labs, then you have access to the lab as well, and you can check mark these as you complete them. And like I said, everything that they talked about earlier, it's all in here. And a majority of them are going to have at least one video, if not more video, and at least one lab. And so that's really the main dashboard for you as a student. You can also click on the syllabus as well, but if you go over to the virtual labs, and they do have a lab manual, they give you the ability, and if you take a look, and I'm actually on the PTP, but let's go to the PTS one. If you take a look at this, I had 80 hours. I only used around 10 hours, well, 10 and a half hours. And I went through several of these labs, anywhere from 2 times to 4 times. And so, as you can imagine, I don't see where people are going to end up using 60 hours, 40 hours, even 30 hours. Granted, I didn't go through the black box test, and if those are anything like the certification exam, those may end up taking me 15 or 20 hours. But even if I spend 20 hours on those and 10 hours on the lab material for the course itself and the certification, that's really around 30 hours there. So I don't know how I'm going to get through the rest of this time. And the thing that really kind of sucks about this is that if I go over to the PTP, when you sign up, so I get 120 hours for the labs for the PTP. The hours that I have here, they don't get grouped with this. You don't have an overall allotment of hours that you purchase. So the 70 hours or 69 hours and 20 minutes I have left, they're only for the PTS labs, which are the ones that I've completed. I haven't done the programming ones yet. There's a couple. There's one for C++ and for Python, and then the black box pen tests. I haven't started those yet. But again, I cannot use that time for any of these. So that's one thing that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now, one great thing about this are these labs are super easy to spin up. So there's OpenVPN. It's already bundled into Kali. You just go to terminal, type in OpenVPN. You have the VPN file that has your key to get into it, and you just point it to that key, and that's your key to get you into that. Type that in with your credentials, and you get access to the lab. And I didn't have any issues whatsoever with any of my labs. Now, jumping over to the forum is great. And when I say forum, it's really multiple different forums. So they're going to have forums for all sorts of different things. I have access to the PTS and the PTP forums. I'll go ahead and I'll click into the PTF forum, and I'll just give you an idea. So if we take a look as of just this page alone, scrolling down to here, this is all within the last 18 hours. So it's a very active forum. People are active themselves. People respond to other folks. So I like that. I think it's great for that. If you have questions about the labs, you have questions about the material, even if people get stuck on the eJPT, people give them a nudge in the right direction without breaking their non-disclosure agreement. So it's a great thing to have. And as I was going through the labs, I found it to be invaluable. So that's their membership side of the site. Let's talk about my overall impression of the course and the certification. Well, number one, it's kind of pricey. If we go back to their website, and if you're not paying this full price, it's not that expensive. But if you're paying $500, it is kind of pricey. And then once you get to the PTP, I mean, you're talking about $1,000 or more. But you have to understand that for that price, you get access to videos, you get access to PowerPoint slides, you get access to labs. Not only do you get access to the labs, but you also get access to lab guides with solutions to help you nudge you in the right direction. You get access to a forum. You get access to a lot of material, and you get access to more than one take attempt on the exam. So if we think about CompTIA or Microsoft, you just purchase a voucher, you get one attempt, and then if you don't pass, typically, well, you have to pay for it again. So with all that said, I think it's a good price, even at the price of $500 and $400 respectively. So overall, I was very pleased. And me coming from IT, having my Security Plus and my CISSP, I felt out of a majority of my certifications that this is one of the most rewarding ones because it was enjoyable, you learned a lot, and you felt like you knew how well you're doing as you're progressing along with the pen test for the actual exam itself. With the CISSP, out of the 100 questions, so I passed in 100 questions. I don't remember how many hours it was, maybe like a couple hours, hour and a half, I don't know. But it tells you to stop with the CISSP, whether you anywhere from 100 to 150 questions. You don't know if you pass until you walk out and they print it out. And pretty much almost 90% of the people, when they're done with that exam, they can pretty much walk out and they say, I don't know if I passed or not. Half the questions, I don't know if I got them right. So this was an entirely different experience. You knew if you had something right or not, and that was a great thing about this. Now, in terms of the quality of the videos, produced very well. So for somebody that produces content myself, they did a really great job at producing the content. So the audio is great, the video is great. I think overall they did a really great job. In regards to the lab manuals, very professionally well done. In regards to the PowerPoint presentations, yeah, I think those are great. I would have liked more videos to supplement the PowerPoint presentations, but I know once I get to the PTP, course that is going to have a lot more videos to go along with the PowerPoint presentations, but I think that some people will struggle with a lack of overall videos, and I found myself going out to the internet and looking for supplemental stuff in regards to learning different ways to utilize these tools and things that were lacking potentially in a PowerPoint presentation, Googling your best friend when it comes to stuff like this, and just finding it on my own. Now, in regards to prepping for this, I used around 2 weeks of my time to prep for this in my spare time and in the evenings and on the weekends. And overall, I didn't only use their material, but I also used a course on Udemy and also a book that I skimmed through what I would consider the relevant sections. So let's pop over to the course that I used. So I don't want to butcher his name. Miriam, Aiden, I believe, is his name. I purchased his course. It's 19.5 hours long. I do have the Cyber Mentors course as well, but I stuck with this one because I like the way that he broke it out. I believe I only paid something like $13 for this course. So I found this to be really great. What I like about him, just like eLearnSecurity, is he talks about the theory behind things as well, not just the tools. So he has theory videos, then he gets in the tools, and I found that it supplemented eLearnSecurity's material very well. So I went through this course, and I would say I probably went through around 65 or 70% of the course that's relevant to this certification. Then I also bought and skimmed through roughly around 70% of Occupy the Web's Getting Started Becoming a Master Hacker. Again, I always like having more than one resource. I found this to be a very easy to read book, very simple. His lab setup is very simple. Windows 7, I believe, potentially Metasploitable 2, and one other machine as well. And it may just be those two, but this book is a very high level overview, but overall it's a great book. So this book combined with this course and all their material pretty much over prepared me. And to be honest, I probably spent too much time going back through the different labs and so forth, but you know what? I always like to over prepare. I have yet to fail a single certification exam. Cross my fingers, knock on wood. It's probably bound to happen once I get to the PTP or OSCP a year down the line or whenever that is. But as of right now, I think over-preparing is better than under-preparing. Talking about the exam itself, I can't talk too much about it rather than it's an actual pen test. So everything that you learn in the course is going to be covered in regards to what you need to know. So I see a lot of people saying, well, are there things that potentially are on the exam that aren't covered in the course? No. Everything that you need to know, the methodologies, the tools, pretty much everything is in here in the course itself. Certain things they do skim over very lightly in the course, where you may have to do a little bit of refreshing outside of the course, but you should be able to get through the exam itself without any issues. They give you 3 days to take the exam. For me, it took around 5.5 hours, and I probably took 5 or 6 breaks. So overall, maybe took me about 5 hours to get through it. It shouldn't take you too long if you know the material, so long as you know the tools, you know the pen testing methodology, you know everything they talk about in the course, you know the purpose of the tools, you know the basic switches and syntax for the tools, then you should be fine. Just like any black box pen test, it does require you to understand what you're doing to an extent, but I'm not going to get any further into the exam other than it was enjoyable. I definitely liked it. You can actually view some basic info on the exam itself, I believe, on their page that's available to everybody to review. That just talks about high-level overview of it. So overall, in summary, I think this is a great course. It's a great certification. It's a great way to break into pen testing for people that are brand new, starting with this, then jumping to the PTP or a different certification before you go for the OSCP. I think is a great route to go with. And really, that's my plan. I don't know if I ever plan on working as a pen tester, but for me, this was really for enjoyment, maintaining my CISSP because, well, I have to have several CPEs every single year, and also just making sure that I'm well-rounded as an employee and a cybersecurity professional. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Got quite lengthy at 20 minutes. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys at the next video. Take care.